Hi everybody, this is Derek with Lare Garden Center and I'm doing our video on our houseplant series. And today we're going to cover the fungus gnats, which is kind of a big deal in the houseplant world. So I'm definitely going to give you all the tips and tricks you can do to prevent it and even some ways to treat it if you already have it. So the first thing you have to know is about how fungus gnats work, how their life cycle goes so you can know how to treat it. And basically what happens is the fungus gnats themselves, the adults, they're not actually going to harm the plant in any way, but it's the babies, that's where the situation is, where it's going to possibly damage the plants. But most of the time, they kind of feed on the organic matter in the soil. So as far as like, I guess I would say how detrimental they are, they're actually not extremely detrimental, but they are kind of annoying. So most people want to get rid of them, and that would actually be me included in there anyway. So we're going to tell you how to treat it. The first thing you want to do is the fungus gnat larvae is feeding on the organic matter and sometimes some of the poor quality roots of the plant itself. That's what they're feeding on. If you see the adults, a lot of people are like, well, if I put those sticky traps out, they will catch them and make the problem better, I guess is what I would say. But really, they're only catching some of the adults and they're not really getting the babies down underneath. So while the sticky traps do work a little bit, I would try to do at least a few of the other methods so that you're kind of covering all the bases and you're not just catching the adults. You really want to get down in the soil and get the babies. So I'll have Chloe, who's filming, who I didn't introduce earlier, is going to come a little bit closer so you can sow the bottom of the soil. You'll really want to make sure the soil stays kind of dry. This is a little bit wet, but not too wet. Soil high in organic matter and soil that stays wet all the time are the two things that attract that insect. So if you kind of avoid those from the beginning, you would already be one step ahead of the fungus gnats. So try to keep the soil dry, and in fact, if you have an infestation and you allow the soil to dry down a lot, the conditions will no longer be favorable for them to reproduce and make more. So that's actually one of the tricks you can use to treat them. But let's say that's one of them. Like I said, I would definitely use a couple more of them as well. Use the sticky traps, but then I also have two in front of me I want to talk about real quick. One is mosquito bits. This is an organic option. I really like it and enjoy this one. I've used it. It does work. It's not an instant fix, but if you keep on the regimen, it will eventually get rid of them. There's two things you can do. This mosquito bits works because it's a certain fungi that attacks the larvae in the soil. So sometimes you can see some of that white mold that you see when you're kind of, as a kid, you do that science project with the bread underneath the bed type of thing in the dark where it has that non-threatening mold that forms over. Sometimes that goes on there, but only if it's really too wet. Most of the time it doesn't do that. But that action is what kills the larvae in there. So this one, you'll want to open it and sprinkle it on the soil. And I also put some in a watering can as well and let it soak overnight and water it in. So I do both those things. That takes about a month to a month and a half to completely get rid of them, but you will already see numbers going down right away. And again, this is totally organic. The other one I wanted to share is the systematic houseplant control. This one isn't organic. However, it works very quickly and it's very thorough. And this one's really simple. There'll be directions. It'll say on there how big of the pot is. Like it might say 2 tablespoons for a 4-inch. That's just an example. You can go ahead and read it. The back has a fold-out pamphlet that shows how much each plant would need. You just put that on the soil and water it in right away, and that will treat them and get rid of them. I'd probably say it takes about 2 weeks and they should be gone. But those are the ways to kind of treat fungus gnats. That's all I've got for you with this video. Stay tuned for our next one. Thank you.